Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. Well, you know what? It's kind of interesting because I am on a lull. I just got back earlier today from speaking to a whole bunch of kids at Lone Star College, North Harris County. What they do is every year they have this day that they ask people who are professionals or written a book, all these kind of folks to come and speak to these college kids. And it was empowering speaking to the kids. And I think a lot of the kids left my table feeling themselves very empowered. At least that is what they've told me. Because again, we spoke about engagement. We spoke about being part of the body politic. We spoke about taking command of our own lives. And when I say taking command of our own lives, what I'm talking about is not sitting back and feeling like we are victims of the condition that the country is in right now, and instead make ourselves the solutions of what's occurring in our country. But it takes not one of us to do it. It takes us all getting involved and making sure that we do our part to make this a better country. And I know it sounds like cliche. To many, this sounds like cliche. Bruce Davis, welcome aboard, my dear brother from YouTube. Thank you so kindly for being here. Please remember to share this stuff and encourage others to join us. If you haven't yet become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, just click on subscribe to that YouTube channel. Let's get you there. And for those of you on YouTube who want to say, hey, we love what you're doing, go ahead and send us a Snapchat or super chat or something that they call it. So come on board. Manuel Herrera, shout out from Seguin, Texas. Egberto, keep fighting the good fight. Thank you so kindly, Senor Manuel Herrera. Thank you so kindly for coming on and being a part of Politics Done Right. Please remember, folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to share it. So anyhow, I went and I spoke to some college kids today, Lone Star College, North Harris County. And, you know, when I do these things, when I go and speak to people, a lot of people think, when a lot of folks go and speak to people, shout out from Portland, Oregon. Thank you so kindly for being here, sir. When I go out to speak to people, a lot of people, you know, that are going to speak to audiences or whatever, you know, they go with the notion that, oh, they're going to impart their knowledge on the people, right? I've learned when I'm going to speak to people, I am going for an exchange. And I genuinely, honestly mean this. I'm going to have an exchange with people. And when you approach talking to people that way, when you approach meeting people from that, where your idea is, I want to learn from you, I want to impart onto you what I've learned as well, it's amazing what you hear. It's amazing how people open up, and it's amazing what you can talk about. There's this shy young man going to Lone Star College. He's going to be an electrical engineer. And you could see, I could read the young man from the beginning that he was shy and he wouldn't, you know, probably wasn't going to talk. But I tell you what, he spoke, and he spoke a lot. And he impressed on me with a statement. And likewise, another young man at the same table, this particular table just had two of us. Hello, Kathleen Morgan. Hi, all from Scituate, Massachusetts. But anyhow, so it was great talking to these young people. But this guy looked and And whenever I'm giving these talks at the schools or wherever, the one thing that I always do is I go ahead and I say, okay, guys, I want you to tell me what's on the top of your head, what is bothering you, what you want to impart on me. And the first question I normally get back from people is, wait a minute. We're here to listen to you. And for me, it's like, no. We're here for a conversation. And they say, well, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to ask? And I say, I don't know. I want you to tell me what's on your mind right now that we're talking. And when you do that, the kind of stuff that comes out of people's mouth. This guy, the electrical engineer student, came out and he said, well, I am so tired of just seeing the, and by the way, I'm in a very conservative area, so remember this now. So this guy comes out and he says, I'm just so tired of us spending all this money. All I hear about is a war, and we can spend this is a 20-year-old kid, spending money on all these wars, and we can't find the money for school, or we can't do X, Y, and Z, and we're affecting humanity. And this 20-year-old kid talking, and he said, then he ended the statement. I'm just paraphrasing, of course. Then he ended the statement and he says, but I know I can't do anything about it. So, I'm just, and then he kind of goes into the shy shell. And I stopped him right there. Nope. First of all, I want to stop you right there and tell you, that is what folks want us. Welcome aboard, Lawrence Sims. That is what all these people that runs the show want us to be like. To feel like we are so imparted with information that we have no control over, that we just go back into our shells and we say, we can't do it. We just can't do it, right? But you know what happened? When I looked at him and I said, no. We can do it. And the way we do it is starting with you. And I know it's cliche. Oh, we can do it. Let's move on. And it's all cliche, right? But the cliche, if we work on it, the cliche is correct. We can do it. So I looked at these guys and I said, look, what you got to do, first of all, do you vote? You have to remember, you have to be a voter. You got to be a voter. You don't have to be a vote. You have to be a voter for the political process. But you can, within your community, also work on what I call geometric progression. That is, I am speaking to you two guys on my table right now. Welcome aboard, Jared James, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You missed Kingwood Starbucks. Epstein didn't kill himself. I know that. Jared, how you doing, my brother? But anyhow, and Dwayne Bradley, you're on spot on. Egberto, carry on, my friend. Peace, brother. How you doing, my dear brother? Dwayne Bradley used to be the manager at the manager of KPFT, the guy that gave me my first shot, along with Ernesto Aguilar on air, KPFT 90.1 FM. Anyhow, folks, listen to this. So here's the deal. What I explained to these kids at the college is that they can make a difference, and it's not a cliche. And what I said, but what we have to do is for you to do what you have to do. And when folks start to see that you are doing, then they will start reacting. And then I looked at the two folks at the table. I did 4 different cycles. I had a table with about 12 people. Then I had one with about 9 people. Then I had one with about 8 people. And then another one I think only had 2 people, the last one. And then thank you, Teresa Morrison. Yes, you have to be a voter. So then I looked at them and I said, but you have to go out there and do it. And you have to believe in geometric progression. Them 20-year-olds looked at me like I was nuts. What the hell is geometric progression? So I said, look, how many people am I talking to right now? The particular table that I'm talking to, I think, had like 8 people. I said 8 of us. Now think about this. I am imparting some info on 8 people, encouraging you 8 people to do something. So that is line 1, 8 people. If each of you that make up the 8 goes ahead and speak to 8 more people, that is 8 to the second, right? That is 8 people, second layer, so 8 times 8, 8 squared. If we go 1 more, right? You see how fast you go. If you go into 8, you're talking these numbers, 8 to the third, 8 to the fourth, 8 to the fifth. in several iterations, you have millions of people. Now, you know you're going to have drop-off and you're going to have intersectionality of people who know each other from... so, I mean, it's not going to be quite that perfect geometric progression. But you will be able to talk to a whole lot of people. And then, at that point, we have taken the mainstream media out of the channels of communications as the sole purveyor of information. Right? So, my little talk, I probably spoke to, let's say, 12, 9, 21, plus 8, 29, plus 5, no, plus, yeah, 29 plus 2. I probably spoke to 31 kids on 4 tables, okay? And those 4 kids, those 31 kids, if each of them efficiently or on the average speaks to 5 people and relay that message, and teach those other 5 to do the same. You see where we're going, folks. You see exactly where we're going. And that is why communication is so important. That is why flesh-to-flesh communication, or as we are doing here as well, video to video with people who are going to go ahead and move the ball, we can actually get things accomplished. And going forward, that is the kind of things we're going to have to do to get away from what the plutocracy is doing to us right now by forcing us into a narrative. The other thing that I gave the kids is I said, look around the table. Look around the table. All you kids around this table, there is something in the ethos that's trying to put you against each other so that you are not looking at the ball. So that you are not looking at the things that you have to do to move us forward. And that is what we have to work on. So communication, if you're listening to me right now, the first thing I ask you to do, all of you listening to me right now, whether you're going to stay with me now or not, do me a big, huge favor. Click on this video and share it on your page. We are positive affirmers. We are saying we want to empower everybody. So if you're listening to my voice right now, I ask you to do a favor to Politics Done Right. I ask you to do us all a favor and share. That is how we get things done. If you share it on your page, we get geometric progression. That's the same thing that I speak about with these kids that I spoke to at Lone Star College, North Harris County. All right, today's program is titled, Impeachment Hearings Important But Must Not Distract Progressive Agenda. And I didn't have a show for today immediately after I came home from being at Harris County, and I was listening to the hearings while I'm in the car driving there. I spent a couple hours there, came back, listened to the hearings, and continued listening to the hearings. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? But I had this sour feeling about the hearings, right? And the sour feeling mostly came from, it is like we are now at the sugar high stage of these impeachment hearings, because this is the time where those people who want the president impeached because they know how corrupt he is, they know that he's an evil man. This is an epoch. This is a top. This is where we're at now, right? But what happens after? You know, that deflation that you feel. You're deflated after you've hit the epoch, and you know that what about our progressive agenda? We have big problems to talk about. And you know, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, she wrote a little piece here, and without revealing identities, I just want to read it because her words touched me, because it was sort of like, I know that's how a lot of people are feeling. So we're going to get back to the program, what we're going to talk about, but I want to read her words. This is what she said. Sitting in the office alone, I just turned on CNN for the impeachment hearings, and I'm having a difficult time getting into this, she says. Then she continues. From the moment the election was called for him, I knew there was no way the racist carnival barker Donald Trump wouldn't be removed from office for some BS, and that was my primary reason for becoming this activist person. So if there's one thing Trump did, is he created a hell of an activist, because this woman that I'm talking about, I have so much utter respect for her, because she is, in fact, one of Houston's premier activists. But I have to, this continuing with her words, but I have to continue, she says. But I have to continue. But I have to wonder, does it even matter now? Impeachment hearings almost seem like just another day in this crazy dark mirror episode of Donald Trump is the president. It is like the whole insanity of this presidency has beaten us down, and we are all just like, meh. Even if he's removed from office, doesn't it mean they won because they took the fight out of us? Or am I just having a mood? Anyway, I am going to watch, and not with the same excitement and hopefulness I would have had 2.5 years ago, but more like a person resigned to having to see it because CNN is always on at work. Why am I not geeked about this? And I understood where she was coming from. And it is something that gave me pause, right? Because she's right. The sugar high. We are all working towards removing a clear and present danger. We are all here trying to remove something that is causing the country pain, something that has divided the country, something that has screwed the country. We're all seeing that, right? And what happens after we've gone through the machinations of exposing this evil, of maybe mitigating it, maybe that we can't get rid of him, but we know there's likely to be something done? What then? What then? So, I started to think about what she said, right? And she's so right. And that is where we as activists can't be the ones that get deflated. We know many will be deflated. Folks, if you're just joining us, I ask you so kindly, we need to get these voices out, these messages out. Please go ahead and share our videos. Please go ahead and share the program on your wall, on your page, on your Twitter, so that people can come by and see. So, let me get into the program, and then I'll go ahead to some of these statements on the site. Here we go. So the title of the program today is Impeachment Hearings, Important but Must Not Distract Progressive Agenda. Subtitle, The Impeachment Hearing Charade is on confirming what everybody knows. But working on poor and middle class policies cannot be placed on hold. I understand how important the impeachment hearings are, I do. But how distracting is it from our progressive agenda? We are reaching the epoch of these impeachment hearings. The problem is that as the sugar high subsides, the question is whether progressives fighting against this president will have the fortitude necessary to fight even harder against all that oppose, or I should say all who oppose the progressive agenda from both parties. Because right now, folks, the opposition that we're going to meet right now, Trump is chump. Trump is chump when it comes to the things that we need to be working on. Trump is chump, and I mean that, right? There is so much that we've got to get done. So much that we got to get done. That this distraction may just be a severe problem after it passes and we get into the fold. You know, we're starting to hear all kind of stuff. Hey, Hillary Clinton is talking about joining the fold again and becoming a candidate and all these side issues. Oh, Bloomberg is going to join. He's already registered in Alabama and Arkansas. Oh, Deval Patrick, the former governor of Massachusetts, is coming on board. And we have all these distractions coming from all these different sides and all these talking heads talking about so much. So much. Folks, if you're just joining us, please share the program. So much they're talking about. But you know what? You know who's left out of the conversation as we are talking all these technicalities? Poor and middle class policy and forcing the hands of folks who should be talking about these policies. Why it is that I am going to continue to bore folk with Medicare for all. I'm going to continue to bore folk with pay it forward college tuition. I'm going to continue to bore folks with for student loan forgiveness, with taking care of our kids by having family leave, by having daycare for kids at an affordable rate so it doesn't cost folks their entire check. There's so much that we have to get done. There is so much that we have to get done. And when we expend the amount of energy that we're expending on impeachment, many wonder how much is then left for us to continue thinking about these issues that we must be thinking about. You know, the problem that we have as well is as we are concentrating on impeachment, the opposers of the progressive policies are firming up. I want to play something that I played before, and I want you to listen to this. You're going to bore us with Alan Howard. What do you want me to bore you with, Alan Howard? Please tell me what you want me to bore us with. Because I want to do whatever it is that you guys need to be bored with. But anyhow, so here's the deal. Right as we are all progressives, all the folks that really want Donald Trump gone, we know that this guy is evil as he goes. Thank you all you guys coming on from YouTube. By the way, we have a new feature on YouTube now that we've crossed 10,000 people called Super Chat. So if you want to be a supporter of a show, get whatever message you have thrown on top of the list on YouTube Live, you can just go ahead and give us a Super Chat. Super Chat our program. And by the way, folks, I want to let you know that you can reach us all over in more places now. We are on iTunes, and all these links are at politicsdoneright.com. If you go to politicsdoneright.com and want to subscribe not only to necessarily our YouTube channel, but also to our podcast, we're now podcasted officially at iTunes, at Google Play, at Stitcher, at Spotify, at TuneIn, at iHeartRadio, and several other places. So you can get us every place that you can think of. You can find us, and of course on YouTube. So before I go to let's see, I'll talk to you about that later, Ledo. But let me go ahead and play the video that I want to play. Progressives, these are the things that I want us to be. That I want us to keep in the back of our heads. I want us to keep in the back of our heads that while we have this impeachment fight, while we are here, there are issues that concern the average American citizen that we cannot allow neither Democrats or Republicans to move the progressive movement backward. I'm going to start with what a Democrat had to say that we're going to have to pull down rather quickly, and we're going to have to make sure it does not take hold. Here we go.
It seems like you're saying that the democracy that we are currently living in, it doesn't work, it's broken, which calls for foundational change. But you're not a foundational change candidate. Why are you not a candidate calling for Medicare for all, like some of the other candidates? Why are you not a candidate coming out there and saying we need to fix Washington, and in order to fix it, we've got to change it from the ground up? Why are you still so in the moderate wing?
I do believe that. I actually believe I'm more of a foundational candidate than the ones that are offering Medicare for all, because I know that's just an empty promise. It's just an empty promise.
Why can't Canada have it? Why can't UK have it? Why can't we have it?
It is different from what we have, from what Bernie Sanders' bill is to begin with, but there's an answer for that, which is we already have an existing healthcare system. And we can decide that we're going to spend the next 10 years fighting a losing battle for Medicare for all, or we can fight to restore economic opportunity for people. We can fight on the climate front, and we can lead the foundational change you're talking about. I'm the only person in this race who has said that if I'm elected president, I will go to every one of 50 states to lead an effort to pass a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. That is foundational change. I believe we need to end partisan gerrymandering in this country. That is foundational change. I believe we need to do so much more to ensure that every single person in every single election has the right to vote. What I don't believe is that if we put out a half-baked plan called Medicare for All that's not even paid for, and that if it were paid for, would cost the same amount of revenue as 70% of all the revenue the federal government will collect over the next 10 years without dealing with the foundational stuff that you're talking about, then it is an empty promise. And it's just politicians trying to galvanize their base, politicians trying to create greater division instead of, in a very clear-eyed way, looking forward to saying, how are we going to dig our way out of the mess that we're in right now? Because it is a mess, and it's not just Trump. He's a symptom of our problems, not the essential cause, in my view.
Senator,
he certainly has made matters much worse.
Let's sit down and have this conversation in a longer format sometime.
First of all, he's lying. We know how we're going to pay for it, and it's easily paid for. It's not that difficult. The problem is that this guy is a ward of the plutocracy. This guy wants to ensure that the pilfer continues, not only by the companies that are paying him, but quite a bit more. So that's a Democrat. Now, here is remember we had that huge win last week. And like I explained in my article that I wrote for the Daily Kos, the reality is our win, the Democratic win that we had over the last several weeks was huge. They said, oh, well, remember that most of the Democrats that got elected were centrists. That is BS. Let's say, even if they were centrists, the delta that occurred, the people who took all these folks over the top was the activism that occurred. And while many of these guys that got elected did not overtly campaign as progressive, everybody knows that the Democratic Party right now is a progressive party and that the push is on the progressive side. And what we have with guys like Bloomberg and Deval Patrick and now Hillary talking about coming back in is that fear that the people who the people want. Remember, Democrats says they're very happy with the people that are running in the party right now. The issue right now is all these centrists are coming in because of the fear, like, oh my God, look at what's happening. We are really seeing Democrats vote for a progressive party, a party that's progressive. Now, I want you to listen to, now this is a Republican talking, Kasich, and what he had to say. This one is a little bit shorter.
Big lesson for Republicans. It looks as though the midterm results, which showed the suburbs and even the areas even beyond the suburbs beginning to move away from Republicans because of the rhetoric, the negativity, the division, and all that. But there's also a very big lesson for Democrats. If you think you're going to win nationally with Medicare for All and New Green Deal and all that other stuff, you're not going to win. Because when you look at what happened in 2018, and when you look at Bashir, and even look at the races in Virginia, where the Democrats have taken the state Senate, you will find those candidates running closer to the middle than on the extremes.
So you think the country is center right, center left?
I do.
You
I do. There's a lot of
even with all the
voices
rhetoric
on
and all
right,
all the division we have going on, John.
I think, Don, we live in you and I, a lot of people, we live in a bubble. We hear these voices out here, whether they're on Twitter, whether they're on television. We hear those voices, but most people are not focused on those kinds of extremes.
Remember, the center is defined as continuing to screw the middle class and the poor. That is the center. That is what the center has given us. What the center has given to Americans is a complete and continual decline in the middle class and many falling into the poor. So let's not start talking about, oh, America wants the middle. What does the middle say? The middle say, oh, we can't have Medicare for all. Oh, so we allow many of our citizens to die? We can't have a tuition-free college. Oh, so we mean that we can't educate our folk, only an elite can go to college now? Oh, we can't have student loan forgiveness. You mean we continue to have those errant loans, those loans that were that for all practical purpose, what I call legally fraudulent loans that really sump the economy? Is that what all we can offer? Oh no. Remember what the middle means, folks. Remember what centrism means. Centrism means we continue to work for the small 10% of the population that controls 90% of the wealth in this country. That is what centrism means. And the idea that somehow that is what Americans want. Oh, we want you to take more money out of our pockets and make us poorer. That is by definition what centrism is saying. Americans want less. Americans want to give more to you as we get less. That is not only the definition of centrism, that has been the reality of centrism. We've had centrism since Reagan. We have had either far right or centrism. We haven't yet to have progressive values move in since the early 1970s. It's all gone, and guess what? Our economy shows what centrism gives you. Don't fall for it. We cannot fall for it. So when I talk about the fight that we're having with, we're watching the impeachment, and the impeachment is going to be all great. What comes after? What comes after? The real fight, the more difficult fight, is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a peon. The fight is not going to be Donald Trump. The fight is going to be with some within your own party. The fight is going to be having the right attack the progressive policies and having the center attack the progressive policies a little less because they need your vote. But what we need to do is ensure that we get all those centrists. Let me tell you better. It is time for us to demonize. And I hate to put it this way, and I'm going to tell you why I say demonize. And I say this demonize with love. Because it's only a few people that need to be demonized. Those who know what they're talking about is evil. If you know somebody knows what they're talking about is evil and wrong and mathematically unfeasible and mathematically wrong, but they will sacrifice their own constituents anyway. They are evil and they must be demonized. Mr. Bennett must be demonized. Why? Because he knows better. He knows math. I mean, you can talk about all the stuff, but that's what it's all about. Okay, let me talk to a little bit of the folks here and what they have written. And folks, anybody who wants to talk, give me a call at 646-716-5812. I am taking calls now. 646-716-5812. Okay. Daniel Ledo said, I suspect most of these stories Egberto tells never happened except in his fever dreams of stories he can tell to buttress his agenda. Of course, we will never know if these are real conversations, but it does illustrate the problem with basing your political arguments on emotions, not logic. Actually, you can know if you can go to Lone Star College right now. It's, in fact, Daniel Ledo, you would make a good speaker. You should go to Lone Star College and engage those students as well. And if you think you have something to impart on those students that are taking this right now, go do it. And also, I'm pretty sure that some of the students would say, oh, we met this guy that really enlightened us. We met this guy that really gave us hope. We met this guy that really said, we can do it. Because you know what? After we dismissed the table, some of them stayed back and said just that. So, Mr. Ledo, as far as daydream stories, no, sir. I don't just talk, my dear brother. And I don't just stay behind a keyboard and a screen. I go out there into the field. And you know why I go out there into the field? Because that is where the people are. And that's where I can hear messages. And let me tell you better. If you doubt it, I'm going with the women's group. I'll be going in a women's conference on Saturday and Sunday at a rally. So as I said, no. We go out there and we meet people and we make sure things get done. Okay? Daniel also say, how come y'all were not calling DJT a racist during the 2016 election? We were not calling Donald J. Trump a racist? We were calling him a racist then. Are you kidding me? We always knew he was. Okay, continuing. Let's see. Daniel Ledo, Umberto just called the impeachment a sham, a rare moment of honesty or Freudian slip. No, I called it a sham because that's what it is. Okay, it's not a sham that Donald Trump is not evil or Donald Trump didn't commit all those crimes. It's a sham because that's what it is. I'm looking at on that stage with all those Congress people there. The Democrats, the ones that are attacking Donald Trump, rightfully are doing so. But many of those same Democrats up there are not all into Medicare for all. They're not all into forgiving student loans. So while they're doing a good thing with Donald Trump, when it comes to progressive values, if they're not on board, we're coming for them. because it's more than, and I'm sorry. The truth of the matter is we have to support the American people. To hell with the corpse now. We have to really start standing up for the average American citizen. When I left those kids, you know why I felt? Those kids empowered me. You know why? Because I felt I had something to fight for. Just like I told my daughter, I'm fighting for my daughter. But when I sat down with those 20-year-olds, 21, 22, I think the oldest one on my table said she was 22. When I am talking to those kids, and I saw kids who some said they don't feel a reason to be involved in politics. And then I asked them a specific question. I said, when I came to the United States, I came as a foreigner. In-state tuition in Houston, in Texas, in the universities was $4 for in-state tuition, $40 for out-of-state tuition and foreign tuition. In other words, 10 times the value for in-state. But I told them, imagine now you are paying more than this when I was a foreigner paying my student bills because of politics. Because we have allowed all these tax cuts on corporations, all these tax cuts on the wealthy, meant now that you are paying that much more for college. So the corporations are no longer investing in the people that come to work for them. So they're getting an educated class almost for free. Socialism for corporations. I prefer socialism for people. But, so I explained to them, I said, you see, as time went on, my generation didn't do you right. My generation kept taking these tax cuts and living with it. But in the process, it meant your bills were higher. You had a lot of student loans. You had high prices for college. And explaining it to the kids, you should see the faces of 20-year-olds. Wow, I really see that me engaging, there is a reason for even me, an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old who makes up, when we add up all those 18s all the way up to 30 years old who are going to, they make the majority of the voting population. So, empower them. They, along with the progressive folk, make the majority of the population. So let's empower them and say, vote. Don't and break the false fight between people. And I explained to another table, they want you to fight against you and you against you, because if both of you are fighting, you're not looking at the people who are screwing you. And they got it. They got it. Okay, let's go to Jared James. How you doing, Jared? He said, if they tax the 1% richest people in America, 95%, then those people who own those giant corporations that owned a bunch of subsidiary companies are going to run away to another country, and then our country will be broke. Jared, where will they go? You see, that's a thing, right? Where will they go? The reason they're here is they get a free ride. They don't get a free ride in Germany. They don't get a free ride in the UK. They don't get a free ride in France. All these places have a strong social safety net. Suddenly, they will have to compete on reality. The reason why we have the income disparity and wealth disparity as we have right now. And the biggest problem that I see with people is they just don't understand how disparate it is. They don't understand how obscene it is. If you have $10 million, you are broke compared to the top wealthy people in this country. $10 million for these people ain't no money. And I'm trying to explain to people how wealthy the small amount of wealthy people that have been taking it all are. You don't get it. The person that has a couple million in the banks, we don't want your money. We don't want that. That ain't no money. It's the other people. The ones that are pilfering their workers and taking billions. And there are a lot of those. But you know what's the funny thing about it? All those people stay quiet. You don't know who they are. They run through their different think tanks and philanthropist groups that they have doing policies and all of that. You don't know who they are, though. And that's how it works. And it is hard to instruct, to teach that, because the TV never shows those people, or you don't quite know about. We know about the Koch brothers and we know about Bill Gates and so forth, but we don't know about the other 400 other billionaires that control the lower 50% of everything else. We don't. And that's where I want us to go. Okay, Karen Andreessen says, Bennett, yes, Michael Lance, so Bill Gates stole his money? Of course he did. And I'll explain that to you if you want to know how, Mr. Lance. But I mean, I'm not going to go there yet. Let me answer those on top of you, and then I'll explain it to you better. Because, you know, a lot of people just think our economic system is divine, as if our economic system was designed to be correct and distribute your wealth or distribute your worth as it should. As I was speaking to the kids today, and I'm going to go into that a little bit after about what I spoke with those kids about, because it's very, very important. But Karen says, Bennett is a corporate tool that undermined public education in Denver. You're so right about that. Kasich is considered a moderate Republican, but he is more right-wing than he seems. Yes, I mean, he just does it quietly. He also wrecked public schools in Ohio through privatization. Yeah, that thing called, what do they call it? Charter schools and all these kinds of things. Those things don't work. They just enrich, yet again, those billionaires. They give those people take it at top. Even here in Houston, you have a lot of people. And you know what? It's so funny. Money knows no color, right? You have these people that are screwing their own communities by creating these supposedly charter schools, not doing a damn thing for the kids, but a lot of folks using all kind of technicalities to get the money. So good point, my friend. Good point, Karen. Thank you so kindly, Karen Andreessen. Lee Grant, progressivism isn't free SHIT for all. No. I don't want free stuff. Brother, I created my own company, my own wealth, and then after that I decided to come do this. Now I'm poor, but I'm happy. So I know about making money, I know about losing money, and I know about just working for doing the things that you know needs to get done. Okay, so I understand that. So no, it's not about free stuff. Masticator said, what? Are you trying to start a civil war? No, you can't have a civil war if you have 350 or 325 million people on one side and 25 million on the other. See, 300 and something million people are the ones that are aggrieved by the other 25 million. No, you can't have a civil war like that. That would be a slaughter. What we need to do is assert our worth, assert our power, the masses, and stop those small percentage of 1% from taking everything. That's all we got to do. We got to assert our worth. So no, it's not about civil war. It's about taking what's ours, brother. Lee Grant, those who are mathematically adept should try to count to 53 trillion. That, you know, it's amazing. Lee Grant, I know you are much smarter than that. And let me try to explain. You're talking about Medicare for all costing $53 trillion. Healthcare is a closed system. The money comes from somewhere. Right now, the money is either going to come, it comes from us all, through our premiums, through the government, all these different ways pays for health care. All Medicare for All is doing is restructuring it and getting the people who don't belong in health care out. Insurance companies provide nothing, yet they take over I don't remember the number, but call it 600 something billion dollars. Think about throwing them out and putting that 600 and something billion dollars into the system, which ensures then everybody else. Every study that comes out has already said it is less expensive, and math is absolute, folks. If you have to pay shareholders, if you have to pay executives, if you have to pay all those costs, it costs you more than just paying a bill. So please, Lee Grant, it's math. And everything that the plutocracy is doing to get you to discredit math is it's the reason that I say we must demonize those who know better. Now, Lee Grant, you have to know better after you've listened to me. You must know better, Lee Grant. It's math. We could go over it number by number. Don't be throwing out the right-wing tropes. Please don't. You're too intelligent for that. You can say that you don't. It is okay for somebody to say, I just prefer to have insurance companies, and I don't mind paying a 15 to 20% premium to have insurance companies. I think you're crazy for wanting that, whoever wants that. But say that what it is, and come out and tell the truth, like my Republican friend that I interviewed at the Bridge Alliance, which I'm going to play that interview probably next week, who said, you know, Medicare for all, for the first 2 years, it's going to be better than anything we've ever had until the corruption enters. That's what he said. And that was a breakthrough for me. Because when I had this strong Republican saying that, it told me that he first did the numbers. But what he did then is he said human nature means it will be corrupted. To which I told him, that may be true, but are we going to get 15 to 20% worth of corruption that we have in the private healthcare right now? And the answer to that is he couldn't answer that one, right? Because again, the biggest corruption in our healthcare system is private health insurance. The second biggest corruption is the pilfering of drug, the patent system that allow publicly developed drugs not to receive a part of the financing that covers the drug. In other words, we finance a lot of these drugs in the beginning. When it looks like it's going to be viable, a private corporation takes it and they make billions and trillions on it, and we get nothing for our initial investment. And what economist Dean Baker said is the patent system rents. He said the price of drugs are a tax on Americans. It's either we have the government invest in developing the drugs and then we have a fixed cost, a very low cost for drugs. But instead what we did is we offload that end of development to private corporations, and then what happens? They have things called a patent, and that patent is used to tax us by having high prices of drugs. Okay, let's see. Daniel Lado says, again, you obfuscate. I am criticizing your penchant for using subjective stories for argumentation. No, these are not subjective stories. These are periods. These are stories, period. If you have your stories, feel free to call in and tell your stories, your comparable stories. All right, Michael Land says, so Bill Gates stole his money. No, Bill Gates didn't steal his money as in a crime. But Bill Gates got his money based on the current economic model we have, which is in fact legally fraudulent. What do I mean by that? Bill Gates developed Windows, and Windows is his claim to fame of making all this money. Well, this was all of this came from an initial government project, the Xerox project, where we learned about mouses and Windows and all of that, and he took that technology and he monopolized on that for Windows. Likewise, there was a little company in Seattle that had CP-DOS or something like that. IBM needed an operating system, and he went ahead and he bought that. He had the capital. Remember what I talk about capitalism. If you have capital, this system is made for you. If you don't have capital, it doesn't matter how smart you are, you're screwed. He had the capital. He goes, buys that for $50,000 and comes back. We got MS-DOS. He licensed MS-DOS to IBM, and everybody who buys a computer gives a little piece of that computer to Bill Gates. But again, I don't have a problem with that as long as that is paid back into the system. Why? Through taxes. He should be taxed the whole hell out of that, because a lot of that money came on the ingenuity of hundreds of thousands of people over the years. You know, there are those of us who create things. The engineers, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers. Oh, the teachers. I'm going to tell you the story about the teachers that I had with the students as well. Because there are several of those students that decided they wanted to be teachers, and it was so commendable to watch that we still have students who want to be teachers. And I started to pump them up of the worth of teachers, how important teachers are. They are the ones who make society what it is. They're the ones who move society forward. But anyway, so when it comes to did Bill Gates steal his money? No, we had a system that allowed Bill Gates to legally get more than he's actually worth. Okay, that's all. That's what I mean. Okay, Michael Lance says, why would I build a business and employ thousands of people and pay them if you're just going to take my money? That's not what's going to happen at all. You see, that is an argument, that is a trope, right? That's an argument that people like to use. I'm going to create all these jobs and you're going to take my money. First of all, you're not creating these jobs out of the benevolency of your heart. You're creating these jobs to make some money. And we created a society of educated people, of a lot of roads, of all these great things, so that you could have people that drive their cars and come to your place of employment. And you are using look, As an employer of thousands of people, you are using so much more of our infrastructure than anybody else. And that's the reason when people say, well, I make all these millions, why do I need to pay all of my money? Well, because you're using more of our infrastructure than anybody else. The person who has a private jet, he's landed, he's using more of that airport than most Americans who have never flown in their life. That's never flown. When you have hundreds of thousands of people working for Exxon, all of them are driving freeways. All of them are polluting the air that infects the lungs of people who all of us eventually are going to have to take care of their health care of. You see, many just don't see the externalities. They see, I create a job, you come in and you work for me. Well, it's not that simple. For that person to have come in and worked for me, that person had to have originally been educated. That person had to have originally had health care. That person had to have originally gone to school. That person had to have originally have a road to come to your job. So society has helped you immensely to get that person to work for you so that you can take a piece of the worth that they bring to your company as a profit to you. So you're not doing anybody a favor by paying an inordinate amount of taxes at all. You are not doing a hell of a lot of favors. You are just doing your part. And I try to tell folks when folks talks about philanthropy and all of that, I don't want no damn philanthropy. I want taxes. I don't want philanthropy. What makes Bill Gates any better at assigning what is best needed for society than we the people who are actively engaged in government? Government is not a bad thing. We the people, it's not a bad thing. We have to start putting back in front of people the responsibility of being we the people. That is what we need. We don't need to start talking about, well, you know, the government is this. If the government is bad, that means you're bad. You're not doing your part. You got to be a functional part of government. But do you think I am going to put my bets on somebody who makes their money off of selling something to me and saying they know what's best or want what's best for me? No. They want what's best for their pocketbook first. If it's something that helps me, that's just icing on the cake for them. But let's get that. When people talk about private industry should take care of that, or the private sector, I love the private sector. I was in the private sector. I am in the private sector. I have a software company, not selling a lot of stuff right now, next to nothing actually, because I'm doing this. But my company, take a look. I don't mind telling you who I am, WCSCnet.com. See the products that I created out of my intellect, my hands, and my brains. I wrote the software myself. I wrote software to allow Windows to do things Windows was not, so communication-wise, computer to computer, that Windows was not designed to do. I licensed that as well. Do I take an infinite license? No, I didn't. Why? Because I had a heart, because I was moral. But capitalism doesn't teach you morality. It teaches you everything to do on your own. Okay? Does the guy pay airport fees for his plane? Not what it's worth. They don't let him use it for free. Look, if you divide the portion of the air traffic controllers and the portion of the airport he uses by that one person and the fees he pays, it doesn't come near as close to the individual fees each traveler who pays every time they buy a ticket pays. So my brother Lance, no, he's not doing his fair share at all. Again, the rich gets away with murder. But we have to first have some worth in ourselves to understand that we are worthy. We are worthy. There's nothing inherently good about a rich person or that make them inherently smarter than you. It makes them inherently using the capitalist system better than you do. But some people won't use the capitalist system the way many of these people use it because they think it's immoral. Michael Lance, you don't have to buy anything you don't want to. You're right about that. You don't have to support companies that you don't want to. You're right about that too. But you know what? If the company is given a water lease and they're the ones who control the water, when for all those people who want, remember I told you guys a few weeks ago, don't look at Venezuela as what, you know, as where we are. Look at Chile, because Chile tried to privatize everything. And in privatizing it, then you owe the people owe it not to we the people, which you have a vote on. You owe it to we the corporate, or you owe it to the corporation. Okay, you owe it to the corporation. So, Michael Lance, you are saying the truth. You are saying true things, but you're just interpreting them in a manner that says you as an individual have no worth. I mean, you are actually saying you as an individual have no worth, so you go ahead and absolve your worth to a corporate structure, as opposed to absolving your worth to you, saying, I will be in control of my destiny. How is that? By we the people. If I don't like what's going on, I vote them out. Michael Lance, that's up to the airport to charge people their fees. They decide who pays. No, the airport, many of the airports, government. Come on, man. The airport is not always a private business. Come on. Come on. Daniel Ledo, I feel I lose brain cells every time I listen to this bozo. I do it, though, for the raw amazement that someone this stupid and evil has his own show. I love that. I take that, coming from you, Daniel Ledo, I honestly take that as a compliment. I thank you so kindly for referring to me as someone who doesn't have, who causes you to lose brain cells, who is a bozo, and you're in raw amazement of how a stupid and evil person like me can have a show. It's okay. That's your opinion, and that's fine. It doesn't cause me to hate you for saying that. It causes me to want to further engage you, Daniel Ledo. It really does. You see, I'm a different kind of cat, man. I don't get upset when people annihilate me this way. It tells me I have a lot of work to do. And I revel in that work because I know how important it is. And while, Daniel, I won't change you overnight, I won't change you for years, maybe. Society will change you. That's what's going to happen. Lee Grant, if Gates is immoral for exploiting all his workers, would it make him more virtuous if he fired everybody? That's another, Lee Grant, that is not feasible, right? I mean, that is not even you know better than that, Lee. I think I'm going to leave that one alone, Lee, because you're too smart for that. I mean, get away from your ideology and let's go into thinking, brother. You're too smart for that, Lee. I respect you too much. I've seen some of the things that you write, and in as much as I have disagreed with some of them, Brother Grant, you are much smarter than much of what you've said today. You are so much smarter than much of what you've said today. So I'm going to just leave that to be in an ideological rut. But folks, I want to thank you so kindly, all of you. Folks that are on YouTube, don't forget you can super chat me to support the show. Super chat me on Facebook, super chat me on YouTube. For those of you who are on Facebook, please remember to go to politicsdoneright.com and subscribe to our program. We really need your support to be able to give these messages and continue putting these messages out. While you see me on the screen doing all of this, do remember that I'm not just a keyboard warrior. I don't just write articles. I don't just blog. I don't just sit down in front of a computer. I go out there as well. Like I said today, I spent a whole lot of time with a whole lot of 19 through 22-year-olds today, and they empowered me. I went there to talk to them, and after leaving them, I was empowered. I felt I had so much more to do, but I also learned so much from them. How do I need to talk to more of them? I invited them to even come on the radio. Any one of them who want to come on my show, there's an open channel for them because I want everybody to have a voice, including all of you that listen to me, whether you agree with me or not. And not only that, any one of you can be on my show, visually or otherwise. Any one of you can be on my show visually or otherwise. Even Daniel Ledo. I like Daniel Ledo. And in fact, I respect Daniel Ledo for coming here all of the times because there's something that attracts Daniel Ledo to Politics Done Right. There's something in a part of his psyche that attracts him. I know he thinks it's because I'm a bozo, but I think it's more than being a bozo, Brother Ledo. Still love you, brother. But folks, I want to thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. I want to thank you so kindly for being here. Again, We need your support. Please go to politicsdoneright.com and choose a method of supporting the show. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, you can super chat me as well, or you can go to politicsdoneright.com, find a way to support me. If you want to go directly to support us with subscribing through Patreon, just go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. It's spelled patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And there's how the politicsdoneright.com is on screen. Again, I thank you so kindly for being here. You know how I end this baby. This is Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.